Can you guys hear me? Anyone? Anyone? I'm assuming the yep from Reagan means that you can hear me. Perfect. Awesome. Uh, well, let's get into it. We don't have a huge amount of time, and I don't want to keep you on a Sunday. We'll let people join in as they arrive. Um, if you have questions, throw them into the comments, and we can, yeah, engage that way. If you want to turn your audio on to communicate with me, that would be great. But for the most part, at the beginning, I'll just kind of give you a quick little spiel, and then I'll kind of open it up to conversation with you guys, and we'll go from there. So I'm Joe Shandera, ISA Arborist, have been for a number of years. I currently work as the Arborist Coordinator in Leduc, and I have previous experience, I guess, mostly in the private setting, but also municipal and commercial. So yeah, and in my, I guess, fields and the circles that I've been in, I realize that there's a number of issues that within arboriculture that could be addressed as a unified group that could benefit a lot of us. And yeah, I'm not really in it for myself per se, but I think that there's a lot of great things that I've seen around that other groups or organizations are able to do for their membership. Prior to arboriculture, I was in the fire service, and so I have that union, teamwork, brotherhood kind of background, and maybe that feeds into a little bit of it. I personally am happy that I'm not in a union currently. That being said, there's a lot of great things about unions, but that isn't the point of this organization or this meeting for that matter. Just a little bit of my background. Um, what else can I say? I think I was able to present in the video, however boring and dry the material was, because I'm not the most personable of people. Uh, I think I was able to touch on a number of the issues that I think you guys experienced yourself through the returning of your questionnaires and such. I figure that we're on the same page. For those of you, I think just about everyone there did complete that questionnaire. And so maybe I'm not too far off basis as far as things that could benefit the industry per se in Alberta. My personal desire, I guess, that kind of prompted all this. I've had similar initiatives in the past in the Edmonton area with the community there. And so I've tried to engage and build community around trees, us being more tree people than people often. It's difficult. And so that being said, yeah, this manifestation of that community tree group mindset is yeah, what brought us here today. But my main focus, I think, is initially communication. How do we get each other talking and communicating, discussing? And I think from that, just about everything else will unfold. And so, yeah, that's my thoughts. And how we were able to do that could be as informal as a Facebook group or something like that, or in a more organized or structured framework. So, thinking about the other aspects addressing our industry in particular, I will bring up the trade aspect and having arboriculture recognized as a trade amongst our peers in the provinces and internationally, I think would be really great. It would be wonderful for the industry. Uh, and so to bring you up to speed, Gerard has contacted me about maybe this organization being a focal point or a organized front from which people can address that, to which I'd be willing to be part of that. But I also said that I would leave it up to individuals in the membership or the group to decide that. So that is something that's an ongoing conversation with Gerard, and I think could be a good fit for an organization like this. Um, a little bit about this hypothetical organization, because that's all the Arborist Guild of Alberta is at this point. Uh, it's really just a concept that I put together as a pitch to try and entice people together And so maybe it's the wrong pitch, it's the wrong brand, I don't know. But I do think that the communication and working together to benefit us as individuals and as an industry is something that would be really great to have. And I would love to be part of that. And so I don't even know if that is this or this is that, but I figured I would throw it out there. And so if there's enough people to which work together and eventually gain momentum and a critical mass, I think it would be awesome. And I also I realize how difficult it is to be introduced to new things. And our first response is often no, and we're hesitant or apprehensive. And I get that. But I think that if there's a core group of people who could uh, work together and show people what even a small group can do, then things build from there. And so I'm learning to be patient. I haven't always been that way. But yeah, when it comes to people, you have to be, and I totally get that. And so yeah, that's kind of my pitch, I guess. I'm willing to do whatever is in the best interest of the people and our industry for Alberta. And I think primarily we need to work together and we need to communicate first off to be able to do that. So that's my 5 minute introduction. And I guess I would like to hear from you, uh, either reiterating what you had in your um, the the questionnaire, or even expanding beyond that and opening up for further discussion. We do only have like 40 minutes or so from here, and so we'll try to keep it pretty short and concise. And I hope I don't even keep you that long, to be honest. But I would like to, um, yeah, at least have a framework or an idea where we go from here. And it might just be like, we'll see you at the next ISA convention, which I'm okay with if that's what everyone decides. So, oh, Colton, he has a question. So yeah, do I have any vision for the organizational structure? I do have some understanding and knowledge of societies and nonprofit organizations and such as that. And I think that um, depending on what people were interested in, if it was just a general chat group that people wanted in case of emergency or open up their own lines of communication, then I don't think we even really need any organization. It could just be a social media platform. Uh, to advance the industry as a whole, I think you kind of need some recognized organizational structure, and that's where I think a society would come in. And within the a society and the government structure there's a whole variety of different business types. They're typically a nonprofit, which this would be. And yeah, and how you set up the organization or the management or the leadership is really up to the individuals or the guiding documents that use at the beginning. There's quite a bit of liberty there, but there's also quite a bit of resources to be able to do that, to meet everyone's needs for protection and the future and such. So a vision, I think I would put out there that it would be a registered nonprofit society that similar to a union structure within the government. And so, uh, but yeah, and where it goes from there, I'm not too sure. So I do think that there would involve some kind of electoral type of thing where people would, similar to the ISA, you would have presidents with a term. And yeah, and maybe that's too much for people to look into, but I think that that type of structure is what would be needed in order to advance things for um like the trade aspect to do a red seal trade. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, some of that would have to be in discussions with the group because the bylaws or like the terms, you'd have to kind of come to a group understanding on that. And that's part of deciding on that structure. And there's a variety of frameworks out there which you can follow, or you can hire a lawyer and they can build that all for you.
Hey Joe, Scott Dockelbach in here.
Hi.
I'm actually part of the committee with the PVMA UTW UTT program, and they're going through a similar. They're looking into the trade program, trying to become Red Seal.
Uh-huh.
It's in the early stages at the moment, but if they do get any headway, I know we have been talking to the government tradespeople who put this all in place. It seems like it's a definitely a slow process, but the right step for the UTT UTW program. I could see it being excellent for the ISA program as well. Get us a little bit more recognized. But
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to be the only people that it wouldn't really benefit are the people that aren't interested in the education or the credentials or even the skill set. And some people are just interested in the money and don't want to put time and whatever in. And then I think there's always going to be people like that. But I think even people who don't want to be part of the ISA or don't want to be part of this organization can definitely benefit from the things that we learn along the way. And I honestly, I was under the understanding that the utility stuff was a trade, but maybe that's just not in Alberta and
no,
in other provinces it
yeah, not in
is.
Alberta.
Yeah, and so even with arboriculture, it's not really recognized as a trade, even in like other than the utility stuff, even in Ontario or BC. I know they're still pushing for that, but I don't know if it's actually officially on papers as a trade. So, and they can't do the red seal at least until there's so many provinces. I don't remember exactly. I know at one time it was three, and then I think it went to five. But that's like something that we can certainly push towards, and even working with other organizations to achieve the same goal would be really great. I think the more fronts or the more pressure that the government gets and things is, or not even pressure, that's the wrong word, but um, coercion, gentle, soft coercion, that's probably the wrong word too, but yeah, just the more we can do to approach them, the better, I think. And the more fronts we hit them at, the better.
Yeah, I know the utilities are pushing it to try and I guess get more qualified, better trained people on their systems. I mean, as a contractor, I see it as more to benefit the people, bring more awareness to our industry, and get it out there. I mean, most people don't even realize high school kids don't realize this is an option as a future for them. So, but
Yeah, agreed. That's absolutely true. I think if we want to protect our industry and build our industry, it's how do we attract good quality people? How do we maintain or retain these good quality people? And a part of that, like within the fire service, they were very proactive in marketing and, portraying themselves as heroes and things and getting it out there. And certainly 9/11 helped with a lot of that. But prior to that, they were like dump truck drivers in the general population view. But through public campaigns and putting that out there on and letting people know the things that they do, which as 17 years in the fire service, I do way more dangerous things and have way more fun doing this job than I ever did at the fire hall. And so I think that a public education or marketing campaign, as part of the demonstrating the need for this to be a trade in the government's eyes and getting support from the people, I think is all possible. Because I've seen it done through the fire service, but whether or not there's the same collective push, I think like the union at the fire hall, it's a huge, huge old union with lots of power. And so they actually it might be worthwhile trying to piggyback onto that at some point, but I have union baggage, so I don't even want to talk about that really. Um,
yeah,
But I do think
oh,
the public education and campaign, and that goes if we're working in a municipality, that's for our managers or the council members, it's how do we educate them to the realities of our job? And this is nothing new for like municipal arborists or even for the private sector. It's like you got to demonstrate the people that you're out there and you got to get them to buy into your service and willing to pay money for that. And but that's the business side of things, which I think there could totally be a group within this that discusses things like hourly rates, what it should actually be the pay rate of people out there doing this job. Because I honestly think that most of the private sector is largely underpaid. And that would mean that the municipal sector is totally underpaid because I made way more money as a private contractor than I do working in the municipality. But anyways, there's benefits on either side. Um, yeah, can you tell I
Agreed.
had a coffee?
My big support of the trade program for the utility program is was exactly that. It'll actually push wages up. It'll force utilities to pay more, which for the ISA would be the same thing as clients to pay more, which would in turn can pay arborists more money at the end of the day because wages have not followed
No. Yeah,
industry.
my son's 18 years old. He's a third year heavy duty mechanic and he makes more money than I do.
Yeah.
And I work way harder than he does. So I'm not as dirty at the end of the day. I don't have to breathe all the fumes. I'm not stuck in a box banging metal. So there's like a lot of benefits to my job, but you guys know. I don't have to
Yeah.
tell you that. And maybe there's rich arborists out there. I don't know.
I will definitely if it's kind of lost traction this other trade program, the utility side, just because a few of the key players of I guess were let go of big utilities that were driving it, but it is going to pick up here soon. And if I do figure out anything or they gain any traction, I will definitely share it with you in the group.
Yeah, I'd totally be up for working with anyone, and I don't see any reason why this couldn't like utilities. To me, they're arborists too, right? And so, uh, yeah, whatever I can do to advance the industry, or I'm game for. So whether it's supporting you or another organization, or partnering, working together, I'm all for that. And
Right
if it
on.
means I like pack up this idea and join someone else's train, I'm all for that too. So. There's some other questions here, I think maybe. Let me just scroll up. I would like to see more at public education regarding hiring arborist qualifications, required training, etc. Yeah, I think we would maybe have to have that established because right now there's almost no requirements at all. The program at Olds, rather short in my book. There's no real practical side to it. Like even I did a pre-employment firefighter EMT program. This is like 25 years ago. And you went to school for 11 months and then you did a month or 2 months in practicum. And I learned way more in that 2 month period than I ever did in the 11 months. And I can only imagine it's the same for all pre-employment programs. You come out, you think you know everything. Enough to kill someone is actually what you know. And so I think having that practical hands-on experience would be really awesome. And I think part of the trade push would be establishing and maintaining those qualifications and so yeah, what those are actually set to. I'm pretty familiar with like BC's standards that they had and Ontario safe work practices for the arborists and how their trade programs are specific objectives that need to be met and all of that could be just cut and paste adopted and I'm sure that Olds would love to expand their program back to a 2 year program. And, or who knows what it would become, if it's just 8 weeks every year, like a mechanic or something, which would be cool too, I think. Anyways, that's like way beyond this meeting as far as potential, but I certainly would like to be part of any of that. And yeah, Robert, you mentioned the landscaping trade, and it's totally different than tree work. And yeah, I most landscapers don't really know much about trees, I find. And maybe a lot of tree people don't know a lot about landscaping either. I'm pretty familiar with both, but that's just me. So, but I do think the distinctness and the amount of knowledge that is required to do this job effectively, even at a residential removal level, or just to communicate with your clients from the municipal level, where you're far more involved in the pests and disease and investigation and yeah, the long-term aspect of things, forest management. It's a completely different field than landscaping, so I would totally agree with that. Maybe a question for you guys. Is there a way that you would like to communicate amongst yourselves or amongst each other as arborists? Is there platforms or programs that you're familiar with that you think would be we could really utilize within this field or within this community. If anyone want to throw an answer out there, thoughts? Maybe while you're thinking, I'll just comment here on a few other comments about partnering with other organizations. I think that would be really great. Like, so an example is TCIA or the ISA. They're pretty good at doing what they do, and they fill a role, and it's largely industry or municipality, and so they set minimum standards, and I think that they do a necessary and important job, and I'm happy to support them. Excuse me, but they don't really do much for us as arborists. Like yeah, they provide some continuing education stuff, which is really about um demonstrating to their investors who are largely the people that require the ISA certification would be like municipalities and such. But they're not going to necessarily advance for or maybe give tools for how to negotiate for more money. Like, I'm not saying collective bargaining, but there's no reason why we couldn't educate each other on the realities of this job and how to communicate that effectively so that we can demonstrate that we necessarily deserve more money for the job that we do. And so, yeah, and that's just one example, I think that that's one example of how this is different. I don't see the ISA going to the province and trying to push for a trade organization here. And so I think that that is something would really benefit the industry. But the ISA, if they were going to do it, they would have done it and or at least be pushing it. And that's not something they have. It's largely been an individual who's been that spear front. And yeah, and so kudos to him, and it would be really great if there is some a unified front of more people behind that. So, and yeah, but as far as working with other organizations, that would be great. Yeah. Yeah, Colton, I would agree with you about anyone being able to buy a chainsaw and call themselves a tree cutter or an arborist and but I'm also like pretty old school and libertarian maybe, and that I like the fact that if this is an industry where you could do that, um, but the majority of people don't have the background to make it safe. So yeah, and so largely I would completely agree with you that maybe there should be some minimum standards. Um, but I'm torn because I'm a bit of a free guy. Discord, yeah, Robert, that would be good. Anyone see issues with Discord or reasons why they wouldn't want to use it? Reagan, you have a great comment there. So part of my new role in Leduc is engaging with schools and organizations. But I'm also pushing for like public information, like public service announcements and things like that that really speak to marketing or advertising to the community, but being more proactive and doing demonstrations and like tree climbing demonstrations for Arbor Day and things like that, and a way to help build the industry. And until we are actually a recognized trade, I think it would be very difficult to get schools to provide students in I can't remember the name of the program that my son took, where you take the trades at a young age and you can we did it through homeschooling, but they have it in the schools as well. And so but anyways, you learn your trade while you're in school, the RAP program, that's it. And so that would be awesome to be something to be a part of that, to be able to grab people when they're young and they're keen, and you can indoctrinate them. You can actually train them the way you want them to be. And that's part of like why the fire department wants to hire young guys is so they can brainwash them, which I'm really happy they did because I turned out the better for it. But yeah, so that would be really awesome to be able to engage with younger people and trying to attract them into the industry. I've been in talks with Olds about being part of trying to get students out on a practicum basis and also going there and engaging the students while they're in school. So that's all hopefully unfolding. Yeah, so totally important. Robert, Facebook as a face or place to join group and find. Oh, yeah, advertising on Facebook, I think would be good. Web page, absolutely. You totally need a web page. So that kind of brings up another point. Uh, People is one thing, money is another, and I think the real way to achieve anything is to have some bankroll, and that's like at a small scale would be a website. That's like I don't know, $400 or $500 a year. And that's like, but that doesn't even need to be something that's immediate. But I think, um, yeah, if you want any credibility, you need that landing page. You need to be able to put your storefront out there and let people come and check it out. And so, yeah, I would totally agree with that. Reagan, you got another good comment there. I think if you have an organization that is a professional organization, so the people are educated and trained, certified, they're part of this. You now have collective bargaining, and not that you need to do that for pay per se, but you can do that for the benefits. You can now, as a group, get reduced benefits and insurance or supplementary benefit insurance programs. You lower premiums for AMA or insurance and things like that. And it's really just up to the organization and what they want to pursue and how much time, energy, and manpower you want to invest in that for the benefit of the members. So an example is if it's like 100% of the people want supplementary benefits or pension package, then I would say we commit to trying to achieve that. Whatever. I don't even know what that looks like completely. And but it's a possibility. Patreon is a start. It will give a platform. Yeah, I'm not familiar with those. I spend a lot of time outside and I'm old, so I'm on Facebook, which is like I know it's for old people. That's what I'm told by my kids, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. But I can check those other platforms out, and maybe what I would suggest is to email me a summary or a collection of your thoughts after this, and if you even want to be part of it, or if you want to, I'm assuming that you're here and you're putting some time in, and you came out that I struck a chord with something I had said, and I think that given the option or the opportunity, this could somehow help be a benefit. But it will take a group of people, and seeing as how there's only us here, it might just start with us, which was better than just me at the beginning. So I'm happy you're all here. I think one idea that I've talked to with previous employer of mine is like we had wanted to establish a network in Edmonton of independent owner operators or small companies. It wasn't that small of a company that I was with, but um and part of it was to like really talk about like how people are doing business and how they're making money and what type of hourly, what they bill out per hour, how are they able to do that, make a profit. And so, not that you get together and like as a monopoly and start price setting and things like that, but I do think having open and honest, transparent discussions about the real costs of doing arboriculture, not like in a lot of places in a residential private sector, there are a lot of corners get cut and a lot of things get done at the arborist expense often. And I'm like one of those guys where I like worked super hard for my employer and went to all ends to do the job and to a hazard to myself often. Not that I broke anything or anything like that or that I ever got hurt, but the potential was always there because I was like cutting bigger than I should have. And so I think the only way you get past that is to have real conversations. And I think through that, people can make a decision either as an individual, as a group, and be like, yeah, I'm actually going to charge 250 an hour or 300 an hour or whatever it happens to be. And if you're in a municipal setting, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, except we do need to be wise with our taxpayers' dollars and try and give them value for their money. And yeah, and so there is still that knowledge base that has to play into it. Like, how much do things actually cost? Like in a municipal setting where I'm at, how they figure out their pricing is so whacked. Like they would never actually make money doing anything in the real world, but that's how they figure out how they're or what it actually costs to do something is far less than what it actually really costs. So, anyways, it might not be that for all spheres, but Chris, I'm just going to read your comment here. How do we come to make arboriculture a trade, and what would the standards qualifications be? Yeah, so I'm not sure what the standards and qualifications would be. I could speak to what Ontario and BC have put forth and what other organizations in the States have. And they're all pretty similar. It's yeah, it's long document as far as all the objectives that need to be met in within each lesson or topic that you're teaching. But at least having those standards there, I think would be really great. There are private companies like Arbor Canada, but those are like arbitrary standards that they set typically. The company has a certain way of doing things, and they are doing it as a private company teaching you how to do it, but there really is no federal or provincial overarching, documents that to go by. And so a lot of that I think could come from the individuals here. If we would definitely have the opportunity to speak into something like that as an organization that was pushing it to be on the forefront of it, I think. Yeah, and the ISA, they have their role. They certainly have their role. I don't know what their role would be in the event of a full-on trade program here. I don't even want to venture. I don't foresee them opting out of trees in Alberta, so they'll somehow fit into it. I don't know what that will look like though. Yeah, Robert, you're right. I think the nature of commercial arboriculture in Alberta, if anyone's driving a 5-ton truck out there, you're actually a commercial vehicle operator. And so now you're a driver and you're an arborist or a foreman or whatever the terminology is. And so there is like in reality, there is multiple trades or multiple disciplines being done. Not a lot of trade or a lot, sorry, not a lot of crane work going on. There is crane work going on, but um, it's not like in other areas where they have larger trees. I think most of our trees are pretty manageable, unless the location and they're like super sketchy. Then, or yeah, people have their reasons. Yeah, I've done quite a bit of crane work, but I've always kind of questioned why, at least in Alberta. But you had to give up your Class A CDL to come to Alberta. Yeah. Yeah, the prevent provinces run their driver's license differently, and in yeah, I can't really speak to that. I know that each province is different. I was frustrated going to BC, sorry, when I moved out there. And yeah, there's issues. I don't know how to get past that until it's standardized across the country. And that might come when the majority of the provinces are now operating as a trade, an organized trade, and then an association that kind of pushes for that. Unless there was lots of interprovincial work, then that's something that might precipitate that. But that's not something that goes on, I don't think, unless you live in Lloydminster or a border town like that. So, yeah, any further questions from you guys? We have had people join and come and go. And so I don't know who's heard what or who needs to hear something again. But if there's anything I can speak to further or expand upon in more depth, I'd be happy to. Uh, I'll maybe just kind of give a quick little summary to, yeah, where this is all coming from, a really desire to communicate. And I think from that to build up the industry. And I think that that helps build me up and my family and everyone. And so have a good night, Colton. See you. Thanks. And yeah, so that's really where all this is coming from. I'd like to make things better for me and my friends and my family, and that includes you guys. I think the tree care industry is like in my heart, it's like noble and honorable and valuable and meaningful. And I truly feel like I'm like doing God's work, if you would say that. That if you've ever seen the Blues Brothers, an old 80s movies with Dan Aykroyd, they're on a mission from God. And I see killing trees as a mission from God. Not that I do love killing trees, but I like it's a metaphor for everything bigger, tree care in general, because I only ever take out the trees that need to go. And so cultivating things, it's a valuable, meaningful profession. And I would like to share that with other people. I want them to see how valuable and meaningful it is. And I want people to be appreciated for that valuable, meaningful, hard work that we do. The world would be a better place if we planted a whole bunch more trees. And I think it would be even better if we had the arborists attend to them and we weren't like scrambling around to do that. Um, yeah, so where it goes from here, I'm not exactly certain. I'm going to leave it on your guys' shoulders. And if you contact me and people are interested, we'll pursue it and we'll go and build something. And if it just, you guys are happy to have a meeting tonight and give up your Sunday, that's cool too. I certainly look forward to meeting you guys all in person, hanging out, and if anything, just um, fellowshipping or hanging out. Yeah, being there in case of an emergency. I think that's another part of the communication side where you could like live communications with people. Uh, I also never really spoke to the education side of it, but I think there's a lot of talent and resources within the arborists in Alberta. And if we could like captivate on that, share that, give people an opportunity or a platform from which to share, that would be really awesome. And yeah, any ideas from you guys, I'd totally be happy to put forward and put some steam behind. And if that's something you guys want to do, then yeah, I'm your helpmate. If you have any questions, I'll answer them here. Otherwise, I think we can probably wrap it up and I'll let you have your Sunday night back. Thanks for the support, guys. That actually is like really encouraging. And there's as the small turnout here is not representative of the number of emails and questionnaires I got back. I think the timing may be a little bit off, but it's about the only time I could squeeze it in. Anyways, I wish you all the best. I hope to see you soon. And yeah, stay safe out there, Prairie Mushroom. Cheers. I'm going to sign out.